Greg. Tony was supposed to be here this morning, but he's on a plane on the way to Mongolia. And the reason he's going to Mongolia may become apparent by the end of this talk. At least I hope it will. Anyway, what I'd like to try and show you today is some of the evidence for dinosaurs in Denali Park. First track was discovered last summer, and that's been followed up by a lot of new discoveries this summer, and as well as fossil bird tracks, which were also recognized last summer. So most of this is Tony's work. A little bit of it is some of my background stuff. And other co-authors on this talk are Brent Breithaupt from the University of Wyoming, and of course Phil Breeze from Denali Park here. The park, as you know, is well known for certain other resources, various wildlife, and of course Mount McKinley, Denali down here. But it's becoming increasingly well known for dinosaur discoveries, and it potentially has a lot of significance for dinosaur paleobiology and reconstructions of the Cretaceous Earth 65 to 75 million years ago in the northern part of North America. The fossil tracks that have been found are coming from the lower Cantwell Formation, which is latest Cretaceous in age, again around 70 million years or so. And these rocks, these rocks are exposed extensively in outcrop. They are forming coarse to fine-grained river channel deposits and floodplain facies, and you can see these rocks as you're driving along the park road moving into the interior of the park. The age of the lower Cantwell is latest Cretaceous, Campanian to Maastrichtian, based on palynological data that was collected by Ken Ridgway and some of his students a few years ago. And the upper Cantwell volcanic rocks, which sit on top of these sedimentary rocks, are Paleocene in age. So we have a nice snapshot of the latest part of the Cretaceous here in interior Alaska. The sites I'm going to talk about today are the Igloo Creek and Tatler Creek localities. The Igloo Creek, Tatler Creek locality here, labeled A. Igloo Creek is where the first track was found, and several other tracks have been found up in the Tatler Creek area this summer. And then localities here at Double Mountain, which includes the first record of Cretaceous bird tracks from Alaska. The Igloo Creek and Tatler Creek area is dominated by fine-grained rocks, predominantly sandstones and siltstones. This is the Igloo Creek outcrop where the first track was found, and you can see that it's not much of an outcrop. It's not really a place you'd go searching for dinosaur tracks if you had to. This is a stone's throw from the park road. And here's the outcrop in some detail. That dinosaur track was found on the base of this sandstone right here. There's a shovel for scale here, and this is Igloo Creek in the foreground. As you walk up through the section, the rocks become somewhat coarser. Essentially, we're looking at floodplain facies, and you're getting closer and closer to a major channel as you're seeing that coarsening upward. And all of these beds are rooted to some degree, which provides some evidence for sedimentation from flooding punctuated by hiatuses and rudimentary soil formation. Here's a measured section just showing you from the base up through here to the top what that section looks like. And again, the dinosaur track is found at the bottom of this relatively coarse, pebbly sandstone. This is a shot of this is the first track recorded in the park. This one was found by some geology students from UAF during a field camp in the summer of 2005. And you can see 1, 2, 3 toes on it here. This is the right hind foot impression of a theropod, a small meat-eating dinosaur, and it formed a cast on the base of that sandstone. So the dinosaur actually stuck his foot into mud, left an impression that was covered over subsequently by sand and preserved in that fashion. This summer, a large number of other tracks were found in the park, including this one here at Tatler Creek. Again, you can see the toe impressions. This is a very large theropod footprint, and the Tatler Creek area contains evidence of a number of dinosaur tracks, including small, medium, large, and very large theropods. So these are all meat-eating dinosaurs, and as well as some hadrosaurs or duck-billed plant-eating dinosaur tracks. If we switch to the Double Mountain locality for a minute, this is Sanctuary River, the Park Road Bridge over Sanctuary River, Double Mountain in the background. The Double Mountain locality is a little bit different in terms of the sedimentary rocks which are preserved there. They tend to be very fine-grained and thinly laminated, like these rocks here. And in fact, many of them are shoreface, shallow marine shoreface deposits, and coastal plain rocks containing small, shallow coastal lakes and various things like that. Here's a theropod track from the Double Mountain locality. This one was preserved as a mold, and Tony made a resin cast of it. This is it here. Again, you can see the toe impressions fairly easily, as well as a metatarsal impression down here at the base of the track, and the metatarsal is this bone in here. So essentially, this is a Triassic theropod. It's not the same animal, but it's a similar animal showing you the structure of the leg. And essentially, what we're preserving here are the three toes and this part of the base of the foot. The preservation at Double Mountain tends to be a little bit better than at Igloo Creek, probably because the rocks are a little bit finer grained. The other thing that was found at Double Mountain were a series of bird tracks. Here you can see these bird tracks here in fine-grained shale, and other bird tracks over here. These are similar to modern shorebird tracks, including animals like willets, king rails, black-necked stilts, and American avocets. The tracks are similar in size to the length and bill size of those kinds of birds, but the tracks are very similar in morphology to modern shorebirds. The other thing that's present in these fossils are small, what we initially thought might be raindrop impressions, but these are now being interpreted as fossil bird feeding traces. And again, here's an American woodcock and some tracks and feeding traces from an American woodcock. So essentially what we think we have here are bird tracks as well as feeding traces from Cretaceous birds that were living in the same environments at the same time as the dinosaurs that were wandering around here. This slide is just to show that modern shorebirds have varied bill lengths, and essentially it allows them to probe to various depths into the mud and sand for different food items, including things like worms, bivalves, and crustaceans of various types. The Double Mountain locality, if you look at the rocks in the thin section, you can see a laminated sandy ground mass, some fine-grained material. Some of these blobs here are actually organic material, and we've got evidence of bioturbation in the thin section as well. So we've probably got burrowing invertebrates roaming around here, providing a food source for some of those Cretaceous birds in Denali. And I don't have a slide showing you some of the trace fossils out there, but there's certainly lots of trace fossil evidence of burrowing and bioturbation as well in these rocks. That shorebird bill morphology is unique to all shorebirds, and this is a cladogram that's essentially showing you the evolution of birds in the mid-Jurassic. And most of these, well, in fact, all of these birds in black became extinct by the end of the Cretaceous, but there are some modern birds which have relatives extending back as far as the Cretaceous. And those shorebird feeding traces tend to confirm then that adaptation for probe feeding evolved fairly early in the evolution of modern birds. One other thing about the Double Mountain locality, this is a paper from Elbrook showing spotted sandpiper tracks on various lithologies, and you'll notice that the lithology in the middle here is a sandpiper track in deep mud, and again, that's very similar to the morphology of these bird tracks from Double Mountain. So clearly we're looking at some kind of shorebird that's wandering around in relatively deep, sticky mud. The Double Mountain locality, again, is dominated by fine-grained sediments. Many of them are shore-face type things and lacustrine deposits. So essentially the whole Cantwell Formation is fluvial down in the Igloo Creek, Tatler Creek area, and then as you move over to Double Mountain, it becomes increasingly coastal, more like a coastal plain out into shallow marine rocks. So to summarize then the evidence for dinosaurs in Denali Park, at the present time there are 20 confirmed dinosaur track sites now recorded in the park as of this summer, containing at least 4 sizes of theropod tracks. We can qualitatively express these as small theropods, medium theropods, large-sized theropods, and very large-sized theropods. And there you're looking at track sizes ranging from 10 to 14 centimeters in their maximum dimension, all the way up to 51 by 51 centimeters in the case of the very large track. And those large tracks are large enough to be similar to Tyrannosaurid type animals, similar to Tyrannosaurus rex. There are additional track sites that contain hadrosaur footprints, which are plant-eating duck-billed dinosaurs. So here's a artist's rendering of a tyrannosaur from the North Slope of Alaska, and here's a hadrosaur wandering around up on the North Slope to give you an indication of who's wandering around here in Denali. We also have 2 sizes of fossil bird tracks, which we can qualitatively express as small and large, and by small we're talking about sparrow-sized birds as opposed to the shorebird-sized tracks that we were showing a minute ago. In terms of theropods, Double Mountain and Igloo, Tatler Creek tracks are typically about the same size, but the finer grained sediments at Double Mountain allow for more details of the morphology of the tracks to be found, and in fact, Tony has evidence of toe pads, and I mentioned the metatarsal impression preserved on the track at Double Mountain. The animal's height, the average size of the theropods, is about 90 centimeters from hip to the ground, based on an equation of 4.5 times the foot length. And the length of the animals is about 3 meters long, which means that they're slightly larger than a typical troodon, and here again is Karen Carr's rendition of an Alaskan troodon from the North Slope. And these are the sort of ostrich-like dinosaurs, although they're not birds and they don't have bird-like characteristics. In terms of track frequency, here's a summation of the dinosaur tracks, their size and their frequency. So 2 small theropod tracks, 10 medium-sized ones, 3 large ones, 1 very large one, 2 birds, and a couple of hadrosaurs. And this is basically what's known as of this summer. 3 summers ago, there were no dinosaur tracks from Denali, so this is just the tip of the iceberg. Just to change gears a little bit here in the last couple of minutes, this paleogeographic reconstruction is put up here just to indicate that Alaska was occupying approximately the same geographic position in the Cretaceous as it does at the present time, in that it was relatively far north and possibly and quite probably connected to Siberia at some point, which brings up the possibility that some of the animals migrated from Asia over to North America. And again, that's one of the reasons why Tony is on his way to Mongolia at the present time. He's trying to connect up various localities there with some of the North American work. One of the projects that he and I have been working on for the last couple of years is looking at the Prince Creek Formation up on the North Slope of Alaska, which is the home of the most famous dinosaurs in Alaska, the Liscum bone bed, which has been known for some time, and another large bone bed called the Kekak-Degosiak bone bed that Tony was excavating this summer. And we have a fairly well understood dinosaur ecosystem up there. Here's a full image of Karen Carr's reconstruction of the dinosaurs of the North Slope that was published in a paper Tony did in 2004 in Scientific American, giving you an indication of who's roaming around up there and what the vegetation was like, the Brooks Range in the background with snow-covered mountain tops. We also have evidence of dinosaurs in Alaska from the Chignik Formation down in Aniakchak National Monument in southwest Alaska, where large hadrosaurs are known from fossil tracks down there. So we know that these ancient high latitudes were capable of supporting populations of large-bodied, plant-eating dinosaurs. And just to summarize then, Denali Park is an exciting new area for dinosaur studies. It has the first records of dinosaurs in the Alaska Range, including a large number of different sized theropods, the first record of Cretaceous fossil birds, including evidence of probing behavior for food gathering in the Cretaceous. And the Cantwell correlates with other rock units, including the Prince Creek up in the North Slope and the Chignik Formation that produce dinosaur remains. And further work in the Cantwell will add to understanding patterns of faunal exchange between Central Asia and North America during the latest Cretaceous. And I guess we'll stop there, and if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer.